If promotable work is not visible on your calendar, it's not happening in a consistent way.
If you're working nonstop, publishing, teaching, serving on committees, and still feel like your career isn't moving forward, you are not alone. I have been there. Scattered CV, constant exhaustion, and the sense that all the effort wasn't translating into recognition or progress. The problem wasn't effort, it was a lack of strategy and alignment. I'm Dr. Stacey Ishman. I work with academic physicians to help them focus their work, build careers with intention, and advance without sacrificing their lives outside of medicine. If you're ready to stop spinning your wheels and start moving forward with clarity, this is for you.
Today, we're going to be talking about how to audit your calendar for visibility, not volume. So this is the second in our series about turning busyness into promotion. It's about outcomes. And so last week we talked about your career story and your narrative. This week, I want to move into something a little more concrete about actually building, not what you say you value. So one of the things I really emphasize to the clients I work with is if promotable work is not visible on your calendar, it's not happening in a consistent way. And I'll tell you, I was shocked when I compared my own calendar and I looked at what I said my goals were and where I was actually spending my time. And recently, that example for me was that I was working in my real estate business more than my coaching business when I could tell you 100% that coaching was where I thought I was going to be spending my time. Obviously, I realized that I needed to make some changes, and it was really eye-opening and useful to help me to get where I wanted. So I want you to think especially about where you're spending your most productive time. So for me, I know in the morning is when I'm most productive, when life is most useful, at least my brain is most useful. And so if you know that your best time of day is whatever it is, it might be afternoon, it might be evening, it might be morning, you want to make sure that's the time that you can preserve so that you can do the work that you want to do. Now, like many of you, when I am busy and I'm checking all the things off the list, it feels good. I feel productive. Unfortunately, if what I'm doing is answering every email or doing every EMR message, what I'm not doing is taking care of my big goals, but I'm taking care of all that reactive work. So the full day feels responsible, the checklist feels good, the EMR being clear feels great. And I do want to do those things, but they aren't the things that are going to make me promotable or move my career forward. They feel collegial, they feel efficient, but they are not promotable. Nothing's wrong with any of these, but as that reactive work gets bigger and bigger, it's hard to figure out how to fit in the stuff you really care about. And if you're lucky, collaborative work will schedule itself, but if not, you have to add that on top of it. And so what you need oftentimes is some deep promotable work, time that you can really think and focus and get into that flow. And unless you give yourself some time, you will not be able to get there just on unprotected schedules. And it's easy to forget to protect it. So what I tell people to do is really make sure you do one thing every day that's going to move that big goal forward, that thing that's important, but not urgent. So when I review calendars with faculty that I'm coaching, the pattern is often predictable. The week is packed, there's patient care, there's meetings, there's email management, there's EMR management, and administrative cleanup, but rarely is there a really good time for the scholarship. And oftentimes, they have taken that administrative time and given away for clinical time or some amount of reactive time for other administrative tasks or meetings. And we don't even include the personal items we need to include on our calendar. I'm going to tell you, the first time I tried to schedule my entire day, I forgot I had to drive to work. I forgot I had to prepare food. Sometimes I forget I have to eat the food. So it's important to remember you need to include life in your calendar too. But the other important thing is to know that the promotion committee is not going to evaluate how full your calendar was or how busy your day was. It's what we all live in, but they look at your output and your impact. They reward manuscripts and grants and program development and grand rounds lectures and sitting on panels and podiums, curriculum innovation or outcomes. But they do not reward all of those things that keep you busy every day, that reactive productivity. They don't reward inbox control. They don't care if your Epic box is empty. And this is where the disconnect lives. So if you look at your week honestly, look at where you're spending your time. And do you even have time scheduled to look at your email box? Or are you looking at it all day? Is it interrupting everything? Is that context switching keeping you from staying in the flow of any one thing? And then take a look. Are there cases you just squeezed in? Are there clinics that you said yes to one more patient or five more patients? If you want to make sure that your notes are not spilling over into your academic and your personal time, then you really need to be intentional. Now, promotion builders have different looking schedules. They want to write manuscripts and do data analysis, and they've blocked the time. They've told everybody, I'm not going to be answering the messages. Some of them are closing their door, or they're working from home, or they're not checking their messages. They don't know if there is some urgent EMR message that, quite honestly, could probably wait an hour. Now, if your week is full, but your promotable output is low, the issue is usually not your effort. It is usually your allocation of time and your intentionality. Now, many of the people I work with have administrative time, some time in their schedule, whether it's half a day a week or half a day a month or whatever it might be. But oftentimes, what they've done is they've added administrative meetings or they've added a clinic or a procedure time. And so they no longer have that time and it is not intentional anymore. And it's supposed to be designated for academic work for a reason. Because when you get into that flow, the reason that you got into an academic job is often because you liked getting the paper done, you liked being on the podium, or like mentoring the students to do those things, or working with the fellow, or setting the curriculum, whatever it is that got you there. That's the time that you take to actually feed that part of your soul and your career. Because we spent decades, many of us, trying to get to the spot you're in now. There was college, there was medical school, there was residency, there might have been fellowship. There's all this training and all this time to get to the spot you can actually enjoy. And then we're so busy, we don't actually take the time to work on the things that got us here. And clinic absolutely spills over. Notes pile up, email expands. Like that stuff is not going to be a problem to find. It's always going to get there. And if you think you're going to schedule that meeting just this once, it oftentimes happens every single time you have free or administrative time. So that administrative time becomes catch-up time instead of intentional, deep work towards your promotional activities. So whether that is working on the grant or writing the paper or thinking of the ideas for the paper, take that time and do not give it up. Because you giving up your intentional time means that you're just making a drop in the bucket. I know so many people who are like, I'm so backed up. The patients have to wait so long. There's urgent things that need to get fit in. But you giving away your personal time and sometimes your sanity around it is not going to fix system problems. You cannot get every single patient in just by giving up your administrative time. I had somebody who told me that his clinic was 6 months out. And by giving up that one day, what did he do? Make it 5 months and 30 days? It's not going to fix it. And it's going to take all of the things that you want to make sure that you work on away so that you feel like you have to work on them in your personal time and not in your work time. So, what I want to have you do is audit your calendar. Look at the total hours. It's really the problem. It's usually the absence of protected intentional time. And the other thing I think can be really valuable is color coding. And so I did this with somebody I worked with recently, and 90% of the work was reactive or collaborative. Only 10% was promotable work. And in fact, one person, it was less than half a day in a month. So he couldn't figure out why he couldn't get any academic work done. But then he looked and it was clear. He was exhausted, he was frustrated, and the structure of that week made scholarship pretty much impossible. So we didn't add hours. We reclaimed that administrative time back. So he stopped having clinic spillover. He stopped having administrative meetings unless they were about the research or whatever he wanted to move forward. And what he didn't know whether he actually enjoyed his clinics more because he wasn't so frustrated that clinics spilled over into everything else. And he worked on making sure he wasn't making perfect notes. He could get some of those done on time. Now, if these aren't your problems and you have other things that are taking your time, we can absolutely work on those. But no matter what, those tips and tricks are not going to work unless you set aside that intentional time. So for him, we set aside non-negotiable reading and writing blocks, and they were placed before meetings could fill his schedule. He did it out for several months. And what happened is he also looked at the meetings he was going to. Was there a low impact one he could get rid of? And there was. And so within months, his stalled manuscripts had started flowing again. And he had new projects. He was mentoring, which he loved. And abstract submission was increasing. And mentoring ideas were increasing. And the idea of where he could get to that promotable work and that promotion became very, very obvious when he met his priorities. That shift was not dramatic. It was disciplined. So here's when I tell you, audit your calendar, pull 2 representative weeks from the past month. I want you to color code each time block as reactive, collaborative, or promotable. Calculate the percentage of promotable time. Now, if it's under 20%, see if you could identify a block or 2 that you can add to your schedule in the next week or 2. And then reclaim any administrative time you already have. and identify a recurring commitment that does not align with your promotion goals, something you can get rid of, and create a rule that deep work is scheduled before meetings. That's the exercise. Please do it. I promise you it'll help. Now, if your scholarship only happens when everything else is finished, it will never happen consistently. You need to schedule that promotable work first if that's your intention. You don't need more hours in the day. What you need is a plan. Busyness is automatic. It will come. Do not worry. You're not going to have to look for the next EMR message or the next email. But your promotion needs to be scheduled so it happens. If you need help carrying it out, please reach out or listen to the podcast. Thank you for joining me at Medical Mentor Coaching. Please rate or review this in whatever format you're seeing it, and please share it with a friend. We would love to be able to help you and the people that you care about get promoted. I look forward to talking to you next week.